Hello, Ms. Spencer. This is Tammy Fields from the General Hospital Law Firm, and I wanted to present my presentation to you on the four sources of law and the Transportation Security Administration. In order to explain the four sources of law, which are statutory, administrative, constitutional, and case law, I decided to use the information that's been going on in the recent cases with the TSA about the full body scanner. As you are aware, constitutional law was derived from our Constitution. The Constitution created the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. And also, what it happened because of this, it also established laws that we call constitutional law. In addition, the legislative branch, our Congress, has the ability to, from the Constitution, create statutory law. Statutory law is what is used that affects the person involved. In this case, we're all affected by statutory law because of the TSA, because most of us have to go through airports to fly. The TSA was established in 2001 because of the terrorist attacks that occurred in our country on 9/11. Not to say that this is very important, because it is important. Security and safety is important. So the Congress got together, which happens to be the 107th Congress, and passed the statutory law establishing the TSA. The TSA is an administrative agency. As being an administrative agency, they get to create administrative laws. One of these administrative laws they've created is that all of us, young and old, have to go through airport security and have to be screened. Now, what type of screening depends on the TSA agent. They can choose you to go to a full body screening, they can choose you to have a pat down, or they can choose you the normal way, traditional way of going through the scanners. The controversy has to do with the full body scanners because the full body scanner can see your entire body. That means you are feeling like you're naked, and the agent can see everything. Now, mind you, that the people that are going through it can't see it, just as airport security, but knowing that can make you feel very uncomfortable. As a matter of fact, the pilots union has decided to tell all of their members to avoid the body scanner because they feel it's intrusive, and also because of small dose of chance of radiation that they feel can be emanated from these body scanners, and it hasn't been enough tests on it to know for sure if that's the case. The TSA says it doesn't, but we're not really sure. Guess what? An actual passenger decided to put this to test. Recently, John Tyner, a passenger, went to the San Diego airport to go through the screener, and which he didn't realize that once you pass through the checkpoint, you, as a passenger, have no more privacy. He thought because of constitutional law and because of the Bill of Rights, the Fourth Amendment, which stops anyone from unreasonable searches or seizures and has the ability to have to deal with privacy, he thought he would be able to deny their request to go through the body scanner, go through the pat down, and go the traditional way of being screened. Well, he was wrong, because this administrative agency had passed a law saying that if you refuse to be screened, pat down, or go through the body scanner as directed, then you can be fined up to $10,000 and be caused to report and to defend yourself in a district court of that jurisdiction. And that's because the TSA was enacted by Congress. So he was stunned by this. And he threatened them by saying, if you touch my junk, I'm going to have you arrested. That was a big mistake. So the TSA has threatened Mr. Tyner with a civil lawsuit that could potentially cost him $10,000. And if this happens, yes, Mr. Tyner will have to get a defense attorney. And if he gets a defense attorney, then that defense attorney has got to get what we call case law in this civil law. I know you didn't ask about civil law, but because it will be a civil action, which is civil law, where two people have to have a disagreement and have to go to court to resolve it, then he would have his attorney have to go and look for precedents or cases having to do with searches, also having to do with privacy, to try to defend what Mr. Tyner did against the government. So, in conclusion, Ms. Spencer, I have laid out the 4 sources of law as it relates to the TSA, because all law, from the beginning of the constitutional law, from statutory law, to administrative law, and to case law, all begins and ends with the Constitution. This situation can actually go to the Supreme Court if it's fight, because a lot of passengers, and as I mentioned, the pilot union, are up in arms about the situation. And the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, which the TSA falls under, is trying to answer those questions. Bottom line, she said, Secretary Napolitano, is that we all have to be screened, and we cannot refuse to be screened. And if we don't want to be screened, then don't fly. So in conclusion, I want to tell you, Ms. Spencer, the last line of my presentation is, I believe that the government is trampling over American people's privacy and using the word safety and secure as a guide to do it. Certainly, if I was the Secretary of Transportation, I would look to modify the current system that TSA has in place. This way, it will be in line with the fundamental constitutional principles and what our Constitution, law, and Bill of Rights was founded. Thank you.